Boss 1. Stonegger 4, Raid Wide. Wrought Arms. These will do one of two attacks based on the boss's action. Synchronized Strike. Boss will do a huge line AoE through the centre, for which the orientation can change. The wrought arms will then each do large AoEs, leaving the centre lane safe. The orientation of these will never change. Ringer. Boss will do a point blank, move away, and this will be followed by the arms creating a donut AoE, move in after the point blank. Crimson Riddle. Tail glowing indicates a rear attack, move front to the boss, but Fire Breath indicates a front attack, move behind the boss. Summon Shijin. Boss will summon one of 4 non-targetable adds. Each will appear for a short time and has its own set of AoEs. Bako dashes across the centre with a large AoE at his finishing point. Siryu, a rotational AoE, move behind the arrow directions. Suzaku, fire orbs which expand, plus he'll do a large dash through the centre. Genbu, water sprouts will indicate AoEs, move well away from these. Run over to Genbu quickly after he teleports for a large donut AoE around him. Striking left or right. Boss will indicate a circle on their respective side and tether to one of the large arms, which will do a huge circle AoE after. Ensure you're far away from the tethered arm. Smiting left or right sequence. Boss will indicate a striking left or right and a synchronized strike/ringer sequence. So for example, left AoE with huge arm AoE to move away from, followed by a point blank, or line AoE combo. For synchronized sequence, it's the same concept, but you'll get the in-out move first and the one huge arm AoE second. Deadly Hold, 4 tank buster towers, 1 covered by the NPC, 1 tank in each of the other 3. If there's a non-tank in the tower, the mech will succeed, but that player will die in the process. Kirin Captivator, repeated raid-wide damage. Double Ringer, will combine both the wrought arm moves, providing a very small safe space within the donut on either side of the centre after the initial point blank. Boss 2, new skill unlocked. You'll have to be aware of 2 bosses' cast bars throughout the fight, and yes, you can fall off the ship. Iron Flux, raid wide from Omega. Antimatter, tank buster from Ultima. Energy Orb from Ultima. Circle indicators at the front of the arena will indicate laser fire across it. Ensure you're not in line with these. After 4 fire, Omega will indicate a back AoE, then a front in succession before the first goes off. Move behind once the first actually goes off. Tractor Beam, move to the opposite side to Ultima for a huge knockback. Also position away from the small ship, which will also be pulled across by the mechanic. Surface Missiles, series of 3 ground AoEs to remember safe spots for. Immediately move to the first, meaning you only have to remember and adjust for 2 more. Energy Orbs and Screens. The Energy Orb laser will go through the screen as normal and reflect the angle the side of the screen it hits, so you can't stand behind it either. Later there'll be 3 screens, but 1 will not be hit/used. Trajectory Projection. Omega will put AoEs with countdowns on certain players, spread into space. These have a weird kink. As indicated, they will drift slightly a few yards in the direction once the countdown ends. Be moving in the opposite direction to that drift as the countdown hits 0. Citadel Buster, raid wide followed by proximity marker in the centre. Move to corners to take less damage. Chemical Bomb, 4 proximity markers in succession. Start far away from the first and rotate around the arena from the explosions to keep a distance as they go off. Boss 3, Inspirited Swordplay, raid wide. Elemental Blade, 2 rings representing different elements will drop around the boss. You need to remember which. Sublime Elements Conals. The cones of the 2 elements noted in the previous mechanic will expand. Ensure you are not next to those elements. Sublime Elements Line AoEs. Same principle as the cones, this time don't stand between 2 elements that are both expanding. Princely Blow. tank buster and large knockback on each tank. Light blade, telegraphed AoE line through the centre which leaves swords. Each will fire a laser from its top, so position behind the hilt of any sword. Great wheel, point blank AoE followed by a half arena cleave in front of the boss. Quickly look at the direction of the boss's hitbox after the point blank spin, as his direction will change. Esoteric Scrivening into Transcendent Union. Raid wise, lots and lots of damage. Union hits multiple times and then finishes like an absolute truck. As minimum, everyone needs to be full health before the final hit, but plus shields and ideally lots of group mitts. It's an absolute beast. Crystalline Renaissance. Rings representing elements again. This time they will expand from the boss and trigger an AoE from the corresponding crystal. The rings themselves don't do damage. Clones. The boss and 3 clones will each do line AoEs front through back. Small safe spots to the left and right looking outwards from each clone. Shield Bash. Huge knockback, positioned to be knocked back across one of the 3 bridges. This needs to be precise, as also starting too far from the boss will send you into a small death wall at the end of the bridge. Imperial Banish 4, full stack. Princely Blow. Same tank buster and knockback, but each tank needs to position to knock back along a different one of the 3 bridges. Elemental Blade and Sublime elements again, same as before, but now 3 element rings to account for instead of 2. Crystalline Resonance again, and again same, but now we'll have 2 expanding rings instead of 1. Shield Bash and 2 clones. Same knockback principle, but the only safe bridge will be the one with no clone facing it. Also, you'll need to position a little back from the boss to not get murdered by the lines from the ads. Boss 4. Uranus Cascade, Tank Buster. Cronus Sling. Boss will indicate a point blank by making this sphere animation or a donut with this cylinder animation, followed by a half rune cleave indicated by the side his cards are on. Imperial Vortex. Repeated raid wide plus ground AoEs and spread markers. Lots of damage to heal. Warp. Boss will indicate a spot to walk to. Head to the new spot marker as soon as it appears to prepare for the next attack. Sleepger. Boss will hit everyone in front of him with sleep, which will likely end up killing you. Be behind the boss. Gaia Stream. Waves of AoEs. Position center and just sidestep after the first explosion. When you get these back to back later, just sidestep, then sidestep back to your original spot after the first wave passes. Omega Javelin. Spread AoE, leaving an ice circle which will further explode. Duplicate. 1 and then later 2 pulsing squares which will grow 1 square in each direction, creating a cross. Excelsior, raid wide. Duplicate and Visions of Paradise, the trickiest mechanic. In addition to the 2 pulsing squares, a tether will swap one of those squares with a missing square, just as they are going off, which will basically leave 1 square safe. I find it easiest to first identify the unsafe squares from the static pulsing square, and then see what's left from the new position of the moving one. Stellar Burst, full stack. Ancient Triad. Either a proximity AoE where you'll need to head as far away from the centre as possible while avoiding other AoEs, or a suck-in reverse knock-in, where actually you'll also need to get as far away from the centre as possible to avoid being sucked into the danger centre. Post-Ancient Lightning phase, if you get a lightning tether, run to ensure it doesn't catch you, noting it can't hit other people. Everyone dodge the incoming AoEs and avoid the quicksand. Or Post-Ancient 5 phase, fireballs with line AoEs in the direction of their spin, dodge these while also dodging moving tornadoes. Well done, like and subscribe to complete the duty.